to throw the meeting live here.
Excellent. I'll find out if my mic's working.
You want to do a quick test?
Yeah, I got my camera here, or my phone. Everybody check their mics.
I don't think I have a delay, but I think I can hear everybody.
Oh, there it goes. It's live.
Can she tell whether she can hear us?
Hello. Oh, good. I just got a message. Loud and clear. Good. Okay. The final minute before. Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. I want to recognize that we are on the unceded traditional territory of the Upper Smokeman Indian Band. Can I get an adoption of the agenda, please?
So move.
Councillor McLean, seconder.
Second that,
Councillor
Mr. Mayor.
Willis. Any additions?
Could we mention why we're wearing these orange shirts?
I will. I will in my council report, Councillor. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Adoption of the minutes from the June 7th regular meeting of council.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Elliott, seconder.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Willis, thank you. Errors or omissions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. June 16th, Committee of the Whole meeting, our minutes. Can I get a mover for that?
Make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Willis,
Second.
seconder Councillor Gould. All in favor? I can see Councillor Gould on my computer. Councillor Gould is joining us remotely tonight, by the way. No petitions and delegations, no unfinished business. Staff reports, 2020 Statement of Financial Position. James.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as per the community charter, we have to actually, sorry, the Financial Information Act, we have to release a statement of financial information by June 30th. It is attached as an agenda item, as it must be approved by council and be signed by the mayor on council's behalf. If you have any questions, let me know.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Can I get a motion to recommendation that the Statement of Financial Information, SOFI, for the fiscal year ended in December 31st, 2020 be approved, and that the mayor be authorized to sign the SOFI on behalf of council?
So move.
Thank you. Councillor McLean, seconder. Councillor Elliott. Any questions? Councillor Gould has questions?
What's the negative on council?
Oh,
Okay, so
Refunds.
because, yeah, that's actually a good question. Because the SOFI is actually done on a cash basis, the amount of some expenditures from councillors was actually pushed into the negative based on the fact that we were refunded the accommodations for the UBCM back in 2020. They were pre-booked in 2019, refunded in 2020. So there were, I think, 3 of the 4 councillors were actually in the negative last year for expenditures because of the cash received.
Thank you.
thank you. Any further questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 6.2, 2021 Industrial Park Revitalization Tax Exemption. James, I believe this is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we have received a petition to apply for an industrial park revitalization tax exemption from one of the businesses in the industrial park, Kettle Valley RV Storage. As the bylaw isn't even in effect yet, it's impossible to actually entertain that before the bylaw has been adopted. But regardless, they did not make any of the outcomes that were in the actual bylaw. So the staff recommendation is to deny the tax exemption.
Does anybody have any questions of James? Councillor McLean?
You have access to the lines that refer to employment?
Yeah. So the actual bylaw, it gives 4 different potential streams for a revitalization tax exemption. I'll just,
I didn't see it in my agenda. Did I miss it or something?
yeah, it is in the agenda. If you bear with me one moment, I can pull up the proposal and then I can let you know exactly what those 4 points are. So the 4 outcomes of the revitalization tax exemption bylaw: job opportunities, significant and measurable economic benefits to the residents of the town of Princeton, significant and measurable economic benefits to the commercial business sector of the town of Princeton, and projects that lead to advancing the mission or vision of the community but may not be of measurable economic gain. That would be more for community-oriented projects, recreation centers, parks, things of a measurable community benefit. So those are the 4 objectives that that their proposal was measured on.
So it's only the one sentence to do with employment.
That's right. So job opportunities is one of the 4 streams. So if they are putting to the table, hypothetically, somebody's putting to the table that an application would bring significant job opportunities to the town of Princeton, that would qualify as a measurable objective of the program.
I guess as far as I'm concerned, being as when we originally started this industrial park, the point was to create jobs. And I had a problem, not a problem, but understanding what we were doing with the tax exemption. The part that really refers to me or comes out to me is job creation. And you may not meet some of the other criteria, but you better meet, in my mind, this is my vote, is that you better meet the job creation, because that's what we were after when we started this thing, was to bring jobs and employment to the town of Princeton. And if you can't meet that, then as far as I'm concerned, you don't qualify for a tax exemption. And I know it's only one sentence, but to me, it's the most important sentence.
Okay. Any other questions? Oh, Councillor Gould, did you have a question?
Yes, so the bylaw's not in effect, but the properties listed do have, or should I say, do the properties listed have existing infrastructure in place? That would be eligible even though they're already started.
So under the bylaw as written, it is new infrastructure that the program is aiming for. However, there are properties in that list that do have existing infrastructure. But under the current bylaw, the way it's written, if somebody were to have an accessory building, that might promote jobs, or remove a building and put up a new building. If somebody bought a property and had a different use for it and wanted to put up a different building or knock it down and put up a new one, those type of businesses would also qualify under the bylaw.
What? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Further clarify, so the current owners of this property, the RV storage, they're running it on their own, they don't employ any people?
Yeah, the letter, I had to kind of extrapolate what the letter said, so I'll leave that to council's prerogative, but I didn't get that impression.
I just felt that it wasn't clear in there if they do or do not have employees in their letter.
Do you know if they have employees? No, they don't, or you don't know?
I don't know.
We don't know.
Okay, so that's not not job opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It wasn't me.
So just to clarify, if they were to add more to their property in the future, they could then reapply under the bylaw once it's adopted. Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Councillor McClung?
That being said, are you not required to meet all the
No,
requirements?
any or one, it says.
I'm sorry?
It's-
Any or one of
Yeah.
the 4
And then it comes to council, and council makes the decision.
Okay. Can I pass this?
Okay, so we have a recommendation not to approve this. Somebody want to make that?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Willis, seconded Councilor McLean. Any further discussion? Oh, Councilor Gould has a question.
Sorry, did we just defer it back to them to clarify, or should we just?
I think because they have an application before us right now, it would probably be best to, and they've put the application in before we've even adopted the bylaw. I think best would be to deny it, and if they want to, ask a question, or we can tell them if they were to build more in the future, then they would possibly be eligible at that point, but right
Okay,
now
I
it's
understand
existing
now.
infrastructure,
Right.
it doesn't qualify.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. 6.3, a request for road name, Elliott Lane. Counselor. Carried.
So we have a developer building homes off of Burton Avenue. They're taking 288 and 292 Burton, combining the two lots and making them into 4 new residential lots. They'll be developing the lane, and they put a request in for the name to be Elliott Lane. I've taken it to the approving officer for the town of Princeton. Because it's a dead-end road, he's okay the word lane being in there, so.
Okay. And the name Elliott is the
1T.
developer's middle name, is it not?
Correct.
Has nothing to do with Councillor Elliott?
That
I was going to point out it's spelled wrong.
Does anybody have any questions of Carrie? Okay, recommendation that council approve Elliott Lane for the road name required in the development located off Burton Avenue as attached.
Of course I'll
Make double.
first move that. Sorry.
Well, Councillor Gould beat you, so you can second it, Councillor Elliott. Any questions on that? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Council reports. Councillor Gould, do you have anything to report?
I get the floor?
Yeah, you get to go first.
Thank you. So I don't know if you guys can hear me
Yep.
clearly or not. Okay, thanks. So for council, I had the Skill Center AGM and regular meeting on June 15th with Mr. Mayor. And again, just with every user group in the community with boards, they also are looking for volunteers to be part of their team as well. They're managing, they just, it's becoming a common theme with all the groups in town. And then on the 16th, I attended the committee of the whole at council chambers with Councillor Elliott, Councillor Willis, Councillor McLean, and Mayor, no, actually, not Councillor McLean, sorry, Mayor Coyne. And then I had a very busy personal week. My son graduated this year, and I was part of the grad committee that did all the preparations, and the high school was able to put on a grad COVID style again, and they were able to walk across the stage in small groups with their family, which was very exciting still. And then we did the community reverse parade, and the grads were all on Bridge Street, and they had a great time. They thanked the community for coming and supporting them and honking and cheering. And then they went to prom up at Livenin. So it was pretty exciting that the restrictions had eased enough that we were able to do that for them. And then I have, it's personal, but it's also council too. I need to say thank you to this council for supporting that mutual aid agreement for the fire departments. Today we had a tragic loss to a family's home in our area, and it was just the good graces that our fire department were able to call everybody in to keep it, because it was remote, no fire, no water, so it was one truck after another, and they managed to save surrounding buildings, and the family is all safe, which is what's most important. So yeah, today we were working on helping find them emergency supports. And I thank you, Mr. Mayor, for bringing that to council, because it goes to prove it's definitely needed, and our first responders are special people, and it's great that they all just jump in. Like, I have never seen that many fire trucks go to a fire before, so it was great. Thank you for that. And that's my report.
Thank you.
Oh, and I'm in the studios, in case you're wondering where I am.
Councillor Willis.
Mr. Mayor, I also attended the committee of the whole meeting on the 16th, and that's my report.
Thank you. Let's go to Councillor, let's mix this up. Councillor McLean.
Nothing to report.
All over the place. Okay, Councillor Elliott.
Well, with the lifting of some of the restrictions, it's allowed me to attend some meetings in person now and do the face-to-face, which I've missed for the last year and a bit. And so I was able to do that with the Princeton Exhibition Association, a meeting I attended on the 15th, and the Princeton Arts Council meeting I attended on the 16th. I was also at the committee of the whole meeting that same day, and attended a museum meeting on Thursday the 17th through Zoom. And I just want to remind everybody, we still are in the running for the Better Community Challenge. So please keep track of your minutes and get those logs so we can win the town some money to go towards our recreation department.
Awesome.
And that's
Thank you. So my council report isn't going to be about things that I've done, but what today is. Today is National Indigenous Day, and it's also the 2-year anniversary of our signing of the MOU with the Upper Smokeman Indian Band, which I think is an achievement that we should be proud of. Last night I attended briefly a barbecue down at the Métis office, where they gifted us a beautiful, I don't know what you call it. It's a thank you from them. It's a beaded piece of work with recognition of our relationship. And I think it's another thing to be proud of as a community. With everything that's going on, especially with what happened last night in Osuyas and in Penticton, I think now is a time that we need to listen to people. We need to understand what people are saying to us. And as a community, I hope we can continue to do that. This is, I think, the 26th year of National Indigenous Day. And next year, hopefully, we can gather in person as COVID, goes away, and we'll have a celebration downtown again. In the meantime, I just want everybody to listen and be safe. So that's my report for tonight. And that's why we're wearing orange tonight as well. It's, again, to recognize the lost and children from the residential schools. Move on to number 8 now, correspondence receive and file. We have Ministry of Municipal Affairs, a letter just stating that we weren't successful in grant to upgrade the stairs up from 2nd to 3rd bench. Motion to receive and file. Councillor McLean, seconder. Councillor Willis. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Bylaws and resolutions. 2021 Industrial Park Revitalization Tax Exemption Bylaw. We have a recommendation. Oh, James, do you want to speak to that?
So, so this is our adoption.
Did you want to say something?
You read my mind. I see when you say any one of them in terms of the requirements. Either the job opportunities, economic benefits to the town of Princeton, economic benefits, commercial section, projects advancing the mission or vision of the community, but may not be of measurable economic gain. I don't know. I'm thinking that it's awfully vague to me in terms of criteria. Like, we have an example of somebody writing in and we're turning them down because they don't meet it. In my mind, I'm turning it down, I voted to turn it down because they don't meet the job creation business. But I guess I never really, I thought that the list was to include them all, not just one of them or whatever. And I just think that, you know, when you talk about building a building, what is the amount? Is $1 million? Once you spend $1 million, does that qualify you, or is it?
I think every business is different though, and they all come to us before, right? So, you know, I think some building might bring something that towards the community where other buildings won't. So, you understand? I think that.
I agree, yeah.
I
So-
think that, yeah, as soon as they come to us, that.
Yeah, and I don't think we can have a benchmark that says you have to employ this many people. I get where you're coming from, but thinking about it as that, so say we have an employer who comes in and they're going to bring in, well, what's the one guy going to bring in? Probably 5 or 6 employees. So, but he's going to bring in a new industry into town. Hopefully he'll use the local parts company, and there'll be a spin-off to, you know, his manufacturing industry. So that would create further jobs down the road, which we can't measure instantly, because he's going to create other jobs in the community. So that's why I like that they have to come to council first for approval, and we would be the ones that would have some say in that. So if somebody's going to come in here and they're just going to use it as a storage, you know, they're going to put in a warehouse and they're going to store a few things, well, they're not going to employ anything. There's no spin-off benefits to the community. Then, you know, why would we support that? But somebody who's going to bring in manufacturing here and create spin-off opportunities, even if he only does employ 1 or 2 or 3 people, then that would be a bigger benefit to the community than the guy building, you know, $1 million building that sits with nobody in it, or one person in it, right?
Well, I'm sorry, but that's what I was misunderstanding was the fact that I thought there was a requirement for at least a number of these objectives to be met. And don't get me wrong, I can live with it. I'm just, and I hope I'm wrong, but I foresee some good debates coming as a result of that. Arguments where people can say, well, you may not think this is, you talk about, I'm going to have 2 people working and I'm going to create offshore jobs, or not
Spin-offs,
off-site jobs.
Yeah.
How do you prove that, or how do you show that, or whatever? I think, you know, and that's fine. I think I like the whole idea of this. I just think it's going to be a little more complicated than I would have hoped. But I guess in order to benefit some that and reward some that we're going to have to get into a judgment call in terms of whether we believe it is or not.
Councillor Gould, do you have a question?
Yes, please, some comments and questions. So I think it might be interpreted, clarifications on interpretation. In the staff report from the previous request on Article 6.2, the staff proposal was that it needed kind of number 4 might, in my opinion, meet your objective. So the staff report says, as the proponent is a for-profit business, staff believe it is not applicable to state this application is for significant community gain, and therefore the proponent does not meet this outcome. Yet our bylaw reads, projects that lead to advancing the mission or vision of the community, but may not be of measurable economic gain. So in my mind, they would still need that because 1, it's a need in the community. It's proven because it's full. 2, it's
I'm gonna ask, do you have any comment to this?
Well, I think there's valid points. I think there's valid points there for sure, and I think the other thing to take into account is if it's a support industry for some of our existing, they may not be a big employer, but they may be doing something that's beneficial to one of our other big industries here. And I think that that leaving that open like that in the bylaw allows us that latitude to approve those kind of things that may not necessarily be creating new jobs, but if they're a support industry, they're definitely benefiting our existing ones here, as opposed to them having to get materials or supplies perhaps from the coast. Instead, we convince somebody to move into our industrial park, and they're now servicing them here locally, and we'll see the spin-off and the benefit of that. I do agree that the storage provides, a valuable service to the community. However, I'm not sure that I would see it as a qualifier for this type of tax exemption, because it was based on employment and other things like that when we discussed this. That was definitely a heavy contributing factor to make those allowances.
So we are only at third reading. We can still ask for the language to be refined a bit, and we can bring it back for the final reading. Yeah, we can rescind it and ask for it. So there is options here if council isn't comfortable, because I'm getting kind of a mixed feeling here. But Councillor Gould has another question or comment.
Okay, so it's another point in regards to what Director Schatz just said. So if tonight's purpose is to adopt this bylaw, I'm perfectly great with this bylaw.
Okay.
And I think that then we need, as council, to look at the other request again, because it does say any or all, so any could be one, or all could be four of the following outcomes. So, and honestly, with this housing shortage in town, if we didn't have that ability to have that extra storage for the people that are trying to work here, we're not going to get those people here to do all the other jobs. And even if 2 people own this and run it, it's 2 new jobs. We have 2 new people in our community. That's my argument.
Everybody would qualify for it, really. So then there's no.
Well, it's on new builds, is it not? It's not on existing infrastructure? Am I missing something here?
Do they have occupancy? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another point. The bylaw requires the application to come before occupancy.
They're already in there. Yeah, okay. So there's, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. So regardless of number of jobs, even if it was like a 200 job facility, if they already are occupied, they wouldn't be eligible for this exemption.
So, for instance, BC Green has occupancy of part of their building. That part of the building would not qualify for this tax exemption. When they get their licenses for the other parts of the building, then they can apply for those parts of the building. But they do not apply for what's there, the part that's operational with licenses of occupation right now. Correct?
Yep.
So you guys have a couple options here. You can go with the staff recommendation and pass it tonight, or you can rescind and ask for language to be changed if you feel like it, and then we can bring it back to the next meeting.
I kind of like it like this, to be honest, where people can argue their case, how they're valuable or not, and then, we can debate it if,
Okay, so is that a motion?
I'm fine with it. But do you understand? Do you not agree a little bit?
I've never sinned. Only to the fact that
But do you-
I
but-
don't care if it comes back after we go through it, after council goes through it, not staff goes through it. After council goes through it and we're fine with whatever we come up with, then I'm fine with it. But I would like to go through it and see if there isn't a simpler way to be able to accomplish what I think we're all trying to accomplish.
Yeah, that's
So,
I would make that motion
so you're making a motion to rescind third reading?
in order to work, let council work on it. That's what
Also defer it till next meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Defer, they said.
Pardon?
We can defer till next meeting, is what they said.
Yeah, that works for me.
You want to defer?
Yeah, rescind means doing away with it or something.
No, it takes it back to second reading.
Yeah.
Okay. So motion to defer until, what's the next meeting date? July 19th. McLean, seconder, Councillor Elliott. Any questions? Councillor Gould has a question?
Just a point, that if we defer tonight, then July, the first meeting in July, is just to then adopt again at third reading, right?
Yeah, we're still at third reading.
Right, so then
Can we
the
change it at that
possibility of adopting this wouldn't be until August.
That's right.
Just a point I want to make.
So you're not adopting it tonight?
Yep.
Not rescinding it? It goes back to staff. They can work with council at making the changes they wish. Then it will come back with a staff recommendation to rescind third, and then to get third again. And then it won't be until August till it's adopted.
Or a special.
We do have a special meeting in council scheduled for June 30th, so
Okay.
maybe the opportunity to take changes to that meeting as well.
Perfect.
Okay. Yep.
Question?
Do you want it June 30th, or do you want it June?
June 30th is fine.
Okay.
Well, because our next meeting is not till July, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Okay, you're okay with that friendly amendment? Okay. Okay, all in favor? Carried. Last one, 10.2, the authorization of neighborhood zero-emission vehicles on Princeton roadways. Recommendation that council adopt a neighborhood zero-emission vehicle authorization bylaw number 1006, 2021.
Make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Ooh, there's a race.
I like that.
Counselor Willis beat you to it, though. Counselor Willis, second from Counselor McLean. Questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. No new business. Agenda conclusion. Adjournment. Somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
my only question, why didn't you think of this earlier?
Can't think of everything all. I think Counselor Gould is adjourning, but she's frozen. Counselor Gould is making the motion to adjourn. Seconder, Counselor Elliott. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Good night, everybody.